All right, everybody. I've got two very special guests for y'all this week. Everybody, please welcome to the show Ethan Kogan and Jessica Silvetti. Welcome, you two.
Hello.
Hi,
Hey,
thanks for
thanks.
having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for taking the time. You got a cool project here that it's always cool when I get introduced to a new project that I haven't seen, which is in this big landscape of comics is
Yes.
unfortunately more common than I like, but still very cool. But before we jump into that book, let's get kind of your origin story. How did you two come together? What got you guys in the comics? All that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Well, we're creative partners, but we're also a married couple. Yeah, and we started collaborating early on, actually. So we've been writing and directing together, and also separately. And then, if you want to take the other part, how we came into the
Yeah,
comics.
yes, we've been working. We work primarily in film and TV in various different facets. Theatrical, streaming, all that whole jazz. And then we always are developing new stories and projects. And we had this one idea that we were trying to develop for a different medium. And we have a couple of other people who are in indie comics. And they kind of said, "Well, what about turning into a comic?" And we're like, I don't know. That's so much. That's so, like, I don't. We have no idea about that."
And we have a lot of respect for it too. So we felt like we don't, who are we to do
Right,
this?
because we know how much it goes into our chosen field and how much goes into that. So we respect the artistry of that, and we're like, that's a whole other career,
Mhm.
like, to us. And so it came again. Why not try a comic? We're like, maybe, but it just this long chipping away until we finally decided. Oh, I think it was we were having a conversation with someone.
With a few people who are obviously in the world, and we wanted to do our due diligence and really like research and prepare and ask a
Yeah,
lot of questions and see like how we could, this project that we had in mind, how to make that into this graphic novel. So yeah, we
yeah.
were really kind of the community has been so amazing and generous and embracing and very much uh, helping us learn through doing.
Right. Yeah. So sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna ask. You said you're involved in like TV streaming, that kind of stuff. Is there anything that I would possibly know of that you guys had worked on?
Well, Jessica has worked on a really big international TV show.
I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish. I was born in Mexico City, so I've worked on a few series that are more the Spanish language.
Yeah.
So the one he's mentioning was big in a lot of in a lot of countries with streaming
Yes.
Spanish. And then you can talk about
I
yours.
I work a lot as a film editor, union film editor. So I worked on the show Empire on Fox.
Oh,
I worked for a couple of Disney Plus shows. I actually am brought on as an associate producer on this new movie, which is coming out end of October, a horror movie called In Our Blood, which is really exciting. It'll be in theaters. You should go see it.
oh, that's very interesting because I for my college credits, even though I never used any of them, I went for journalism, but I did a lot of
Oh, nice.
video editing stuff because a lot of it
Oh,
was
yeah.
TV journalism as well. So yeah, editing is Avid is a terrible program, and I hope it burns.
That's all I work on, man.
That was kind of the bane of my existence for two or 3 years of that program.
Yeah.
But so
It's
much
it's
respect
a
for
tough,
using it.
yeah. It's a tough program.
So you said it's funny when you say like you come over to comics, you see this like whole daunting thing, you don't know what to do. And I just talked to concept artist Ben Morrow a few weeks ago, who was similar vein. He worked in concept art for film and then moved over to comics, and he had kind of the same feeling. But he went a completely different route and decided I need a publisher because I don't want to deal with all that stuff. So before we go too much into what the book is, what was the decision to go crowdfunding? And did you try to get a publisher before time? Like, how did
No,
that decision come about?
we want to own our IP on this project.
Yeah.
That was a big consideration. We were developing this thing. We developed an entire Bible before this for like a whole world.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll pull it out later, but
Yeah, it's a big world. And this, so the first one came out in 2022 as a graphic novel, but the reason I'm saying that is like this next part, it's part of a large arc that we developed.
yeah. So we were
the Bible.
Yeah, we were developing this whole thing. I did this little mini booklet, as you can see. So we had like concept art and character arcs and the whole thing, the whole world.
Yeah.
And so we were developing this idea, and it's so big, we just didn't want to give it away, and we didn't want to just, even if it was like a sale, it would just be gone, and then we may not have anything to do with it. And then there's that concept. You write a play, a novel, or a comic or a graphic novel,
or even a short story.
You have a little more leeway to own more of your IP when you turn it over. And so that was kind of the initial thought process when we looked more into, okay, how do we actually do this and do it right?
And also like being able to curate the entire story, like the way we saw it from beginning to end. And I think that this, the graphic novel, the comic world gives you a little more room to do that, at least so far with our experience. So,
yeah, I mean, so that was the initial reasoning for going into it. And then as we started getting into it, we realized how much more suited the story was to the comic graphic novel world, and we just kind of let the story blossom on its own. We had some ideas of where it was go. We knew like A, and we knew Z. In between was a little more amorphous, and we had general ideas. And as we kind of crawled through this medium and started writing and working with our artist, new ideas popped up, new storylines. It became more emotional. We had more characters that we started dealing with, little side stories. And we really heightened everything, and it really suited the story.
And you said you went with the graphic novel format, as I saw when I was looking it up. How much research did you do into Kickstarter and crowdfunding beforehand? Because traditionally, people go with the floppy model and then into the graphic novel or collected edition. Just be honest with everybody, it's more profitable. But also, it's a little bit easier to get the funding or get it out there in that format. So talk a little bit about that decision.
I think part of it was, we spoke with a few people who have done, very, very well. Like Charlie Stickney was a great mentor for us.
Did White Ash Comics.
Yeah.
Ryland Grant, who's a friend of mine who is doing the Evel Knievel comic right now and does a lot of his own indie comics. They guided us a lot through this. They do the floppy model too, as well, to some degree, or the thicker floppy.
But Charlie has done also like the
well, he does that. He does the floppies and then he does the trade.
Yeah.
I think for us, we never really saw this as like a serial sort of thing. We saw it as one full story, and I think we're very much like, I always say in another lifetime, we both trained as actors, and so we kind of come with that like character first emotional standpoint from everything that we create. And I think we just let the characters and the story arc dictate this journey. And it was just like, oh, okay, the initial bit, part 1, that's going to be about 60 pages. That just feels right. Part 2 is 108 pages. It just feels right. It ends at the right moment. Mm-hmm. And then part 3, which is going to be next summer, is going to be roughly about 80. It just kind of felt right for the story. Also, there's like a monetary logistic thing into it. When we started this, if we just did the whole thing, you're going to drop how much money to do a graphic novel. You don't even know your first foray into it.
Yeah, how people are going to respond to it, if they're going to like it.
Right. So strictly from a monetary standpoint, we were like, okay, let's just test this. 22 didn't feel right. The way we wrote it, it came out to be about 60. So we tested that, and that dictated the next 2. If we had all the money from the start, we might have just, and we knew it was going to be successful, we might have just done the whole thing in one go.
But also the first 60 pages, it's a big world. So it was like, it felt like we really needed to set it all up. And if it had only been like a 22 page, you know, like it would have kind of left it in a place where the story didn't totally get going. Because there's so many interesting characters, and as Ethan was saying, like we like are character driven, so we need to delve in further so that the reader, you know, can get to know them a little better, and then we leave them at this point that's like really leaving them hanging, you know, that they want more, and it feels organic that way.
Definitely, and I feel like this is a good place to jump in. The book we're talking about, everybody, is Shockhead Peter. So, what is this series all about? Just to kind of give us a place to start with the conversation.
Our elevator pitch is Shockheaded Peter is Labyrinth meets A Nightmare on Elm Street by way of Hayao Miyazaki, or Tim Burton, if you will. Haunted horror with a hint of heart. That's our pitch. And then we say it's basically the harbinger of punishment arrives in a small town, and a girl with a literal broken heart who is troubled by her desire to join his disturbing crusade.
Okay, so yeah, I love so much about it. I mean, I always say I'm not much of a horror fan, although it's funny because as we're talking about this, I'm watching one of the most horrific things I've ever seen on Netflix right now. But
what's that?
That Ed Gein show.
Monster Season 3. I've heard.
Not for the weak-willed.
Yeah, I bet.
But I think one of the things that interests me about the series when I was looking up and I'm reading through it is the art, and I think for most comic people out there, the art is what sucks them in.
Yeah.
Where did you guys meet up with your artists, and how has it been working with them?
Yeah.
So when we started doing all this research, we were like, well, where do we find someone? And there's a Facebook group connecting artists and comic creators.
I mean, that was just kind of a throwaway suggestion to us because there was like, oh, okay, you got to meet and go to cons and talk to a few people, and I'll introduce you some people. And we were trying to like get into those circles and not be like those, hey, you know, I'm not part of here, but will you do this? You know, we didn't want to like just butt in and seem like those types of people.
Yeah, but also the Facebook group is ultimately where we found our artist. And it's always funny. We talk about, so Giuseppe Di Stefano, Sabe Di Stefano is our artist. He likes us to call him Joe. And he's Italian from Rome. And it was the first time he said he had posted on this group. So we were looking through there and we saw a few artists that we were like, oh, this is interesting. And then we saw one that he did.
It was like this weird Napoleon type character with his hat up on a steampunk horse, and it was kicking up, and it just looked like insane. But the art was really great
and fun. It was also had a bit of like fun and humor to it.
And the lighting,
the color,
the way that he colored it, and it was just amazing. We're like, okay, this guy, the vibe is great.
And one thing, just like going back to horror, right? Like it's fantasy horror, and we needed someone that could capture a lightness to it as well.
Like a tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, because like it is horror, but there's also these moments that, you know, we do put a little bit of like humor to it. And again, I mean, I always think it has a lot of heart because our protagonist, Ruby, you know, the girl with the literal broken heart. So he just captured this essence that felt like the perfect match.
Yeah, it feels almost like a children's book and the style that he goes, but it's also so dark and it's hard to explain really, but I think it fits the world of a horror, especially a 19th century horror story so well. It seems like you got really lucky right off the bat on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the vibe we kind of wanted to have. There's also this reference that I had. There's this graphic novel called Beautiful Creatures. I can't blanking on the name of the artist and the writer. But it's just like a bunch of sprites living in the forest, and they're like, oh my god, and the sprites, and na 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 na. And then, you know, a bird swoops down and like chops off the head of one of them, like, oh my god. And then they're just holding around, and then, you know, it turns out they're living in the dead body of a girl that was left in the forest, but they're still just hopping around and all sprightly. And I'm like, and it looks like a children's book, and you're like, do not let your kids read this because they will have nightmares forever. And I think that was also kind of in the back of my head when we were looking to how to mix our story with an artist and how it would come off.
Yeah, that, and also as was mentioned earlier that we come from a theater background, and just we were part of a theater company for a while called the Actors Gang, which does all these like commedia village type of characters. So Commedia dell'arte, and it was yeah, it had this like kind of fun spirit to it too, very heightened, right? So it just felt like the right mix to have this, what you're saying, like it might look like a children's book, but what we always say is it's like young adult and adult for sure because of how dark it gets. Like, and the first book you get a taste of it, but the second part really opens up, like it really delves in further. Sometimes we describe Shockheaded Peter as like a deranged fairy godmother that comes to town because, Ruby, she's living in this town of Winding Springs that is full of like vile people, and Shockheaded Peter kind of comes in, and he's this very fucked up fairy tale, godmother.
By the way, I think I gave you the wrong name of that graphic novel, and it's going to haunt me forever. So later I will run and get it and give you the correct reference name, because I think Beautiful Creatures was the wrong name.
I was I was looking it up. Beautiful Creatures. There's a manga named Beautiful Creatures.
I have it in the other room. I'll get it in a sec.
And I will say, everybody, as soon as you look up the Kickstarter, which I know you all will, I think the cover right away will let you know, like, don't give this to your little kids. So, you guys, you did issue 1. Looks like last year, a couple of years ago now, actually.
Yeah.
And funding was really good on it. I mean, I ask about the floppies early on because I think traditionally the hardcover OGN model on Kickstarter, I've noticed it waning over the years, not doing so well. People tend to like the floppies, but you guys killed it right off the bat with that. What was there a secret to it, or like how did you guys feel about the first campaign?
I think ignorance, naivete.
We've been talking about that. We're like, we kind of walked in being like, okay, like this is what we do. Like we took advice from people, and we tried that, but
we did a perfect bound soft cover. We didn't do a hard cover.
Okay.
Maybe once we're done with everything, our plan is to get all 3, and the third one we're going to design a slipcase and have 3 of them in, so it'll be the whole graphic novel in one little slipcase.
That's a cool addition to the third campaign.
Yeah,
if you get them all to fit perfectly.
That's the plan. Yeah.
And you already said like the first volume is all about introducing people to the world, getting them to meet the characters, developing them, and that this one is going to open things up a little bit more. How so? How is it going to open up? Are we going to see more of the world? More characters? What kind of things are we expecting?
Yeah,
definitely more characters. You go deeper into the motivations of characters, deeper into the mythology, kind of learning what this guy is about. I mean, you definitely endeared more to Ruby, and she's kind of our eyes through this whole thing, experiencing this whole thing, and then just seeing kind of like the horrible nature of people and why why it causes certain people to do certain things that they do. I mean, we always talk about this like it's a comment on the nature of man and the consequences of your actions. Because Peter is essentially a harbinger of punishment. He has a code, which you'll come to learn more about.
Yeah, I think exactly. We delve further into characters. Also, there's reveals, a lot more reveals of like as the mythology gets exposed a little more. There's also more punishments that happen, of course, because some of the people in the town get what's coming to them under the strict code that Peter has. He's very adamant about that for sure.
Right, as you'll come to see, and we should talk about that. The inspiration really for everything with this was an old 19th century German children's book, a really messed up children's book.
Yeah.
And some say it was actually the first children's picture book, which I've heard, I couldn't verify, but like in the mid 1800s, it was just like 6 or 7 short little stories about punishments. Don't suck your thumb, otherwise someone's going to come in and chop it off. And so we our punishments are in that vein to a degree. Peter's code, his last line of his code is your punishment will fit your crime.
I mean, our punishments are definitely more adult, but some of these punishments are horrifying. Like if you think about someone in that time reading that to their kid to say, have a good night, make sure you make right choices, that would cause nightmares. So we were inspired by that and by one of the characters, but we built the whole world, all of the characters. We do like pay homage to some of the punishments, but we've like made them our own and created fully new ones that, you could say they're a bit twisted, but that's what makes it a fantasy horror.
And if you're a fan of like original source material, we do get a little meta in here. You'll see towards the end, definitely a little more than paying homage to the original creator. And I think it's a really cool addition. But you have to read the book.
Yeah, like there'll be like little things that are revealed, and then maybe like it's all threaded together. Some things from the first book through, like we think it's exciting, and so far the people who have read what we have we're having very good responses, which is always exciting because you're creating something and it's like just you and your artist, and we're like loving what's going on, and we're like, okay, now let's see what people are gonna think. How are they gonna respond? So
yeah, definitely. I think if it isn't a spoiler, Shockhead Peter is the character you're talking about that's doing all the punishments. What's kind of his deal?
Well, I mean, that's a lot of what you learn in part 2.
Okay.
And definitely it will. So we just finished part 3 writing. It definitely sums up, like you'll get all the answers. Definitely part 3. You'll get a good chunk of it in part 2. But I think his deal really is summed up in his rules, his credo. Past 12 years old, your days of innocence are cold. If you're older than 12, you're no longer innocent. Trespass without guilt or remorse might be good or bad at the source. Still trying to see, is this person morally good or not? Repeat these offenses in due time. Your punishment will fit your crime. It's kind of like a fairy godmother vigilante, if you will.
And that's his moral code. It's like the punishment is, he doesn't just like, he plans everything very specifically to fit that crime, like, what is this vile person always doing? So anyway, it's a very we've had fun with it too. We've had fun with it.
There's, if you're very into the fantasy aspect, the dark fantasy aspect of alchemy and things of that sort, Peter will be a very big interest to you in how he conducts himself in his punishments. There's a little bit of that in his mythology as well.
But we start to like in the 3-part, you'll definitely get the reveals of like the origin, all of that. Like it's not like everything we put in it is intentional, and
we
answer. It's not just like, oh, we have this idea and we don't know where it comes from. There's nothing. Like it's definitely gonna pay off. Everything that's left there's a payoff to it.
And we actually go to great pains, even if there's like a tiny little thing, we're like, oh crap, no, we have to remember to bring that back in. Even if there was something in the first 10 pages, and then I think we bring it in towards like the last 20. Like there's stuff that we definitely incorporate. We don't want to just leave anything.
Okay, so at the end of the day, we don't know if he's a vigilante or mythical or anything like that. He's just,
not yet.
We've kind of learned who he is, but we're going to get the reveal of who he is later on.
But I actually think that that's also kind of his deal. It's the whole thing about, at least this town we're into, it's a morally gray area. Everyone is morally gray. There is no black and white. There is no well, there might be one or two definitive villains, just really bad people. But I don't think there's any heroes per se. No knights in shining armor. Everybody has, pros and cons, positives and negatives.
Their shadow, like everybody has, yeah.
Yeah, and we did that on purpose.
Yeah, because we want to make them like three-dimensional complex
Right.
characters and not, so that people
Yeah.
can connect with them,
I mean, even for the most part, even some of the villains you find, there will be a little detour where you maybe have a little more sympathy for them than you thought you were even going to. Like you had no idea, like, oh crap, I didn't even know we were going to talk about this guy or this girl or whatever,
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about the inspiration for the book, but what I would like to know, because with any genre, like we could say it's a horror book, that could mean 20 different things. So where's your horror inspiration for this? I know you mentioned a few at the top, but like if you had to put a finer point on it's this type of horror, it's it's horror porn, it's creature horror or whatever, where would you kind of fall for people out there looking at it?
I mean, I guess Peter is a creature,
Yeah.
if I could see Guillermo del Toro doing the series,
Yes.
like a la The Strain, where Peter is the main creepy haunting creature.
Yeah, that's even something we've talked about.
I
We're
mean,
like, that would be amazing.
yeah, like look at the faun in Pan's Labyrinth if you're familiar with that movie at all. There's this creature that has this interaction with the girl and is really like crickety and scary and creepy and large and overbearing, but he's seemingly trying to help her. And
Yeah.
for a good chunk of the movie, you're like, is he gonna kill her? Or
Yeah.
I don't know if he's really helping her or not. He says he is.
Right, but what's he? Yeah, I mean, Peter definitely. Yeah, that's a good comparable. Like, he flows more, he moves, but yeah, it's that idea of like
I would say definitely on the
creature-like.
creature side
Yeah.
of things, even though he is on the surface a person. Um, the book in its form right now, I wouldn't say is like slash and gore because we don't. While there is some blood here and there, maybe some punishments, it's not strictly a torture porn type of thing. Not at all. And
I mean, there's some gruesome punishments, but
Sure.
again, it's not slash and
like
horror.
in part one, a guy gets his legs ripped off and he gets dismembered, but he's still alive.
Yeah.
So,
because I think I fall into this, and I fell into this at the beginning of this interview, where I say I'm not a horror fan, but like I am. I just don't like the current horror porn, the torture porn stuff, where it's just let's just throw blood everywhere
and I don't think we do because there's no look. If there was like an intention behind it or a very specific reasoning behind it, it might find its way into a story. But I think, like I said, we're character first, we're emotion first, and so if the characters are led that way, okay. But for the most part, it doesn't. Like all the punishments that happen, there's a reason. It's because of these people's actions, and we take care to like what punishment are we putting on them? What are they going to have to live with from what they've done? That's more, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's for at least for my sensibilities. I preferred that. Like I like the when you do see the horror, when you do see the blood or the whatever, it's a big moment because you've been brought through this world of these horrific things happening, but you haven't necessarily seen them up close, and then punch in the face, there it is. That hits better for me personally, I think, rather than right off the bat, we're just gonna have someone tied up and saw them a million times in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an earned moment. You earn it. Like, yeah, definitely.
It's more impactful too when there's reasoning for it. Otherwise, you just desensitize to it, and then it doesn't. There's no, again, going back to it. There's no emotion to it. You're not affected as an audience member because even in horror, I think the thing that'll bring you in and make you feel the scares more is because you're emotionally tied to what's going on. For whether or not you want to admit it, but that's always the core.
Yeah.
Definitely. The campaign is launching October 8th, which as everybody's listening to this, it is launched. When people go and check out the campaign, what can we expect from it? Do you have multiple covers? What are you offering on top of the comic itself?
Well, there's going to be 2 early bird deals in the first 48 hours. I'm not sure when this is going to air, if that's still going to be available or not. But those will be discounts on the book and the catch up tier, which is basically we're doing a rebranding of part 1 with a new cover, some revised dialogue, and a couple of new panels. So early bird tiers. We're only doing 1 variant cover because we really wanted to focus on the quality of the book, and it's 108 pages. It's a good, chunky book, and so we were really focused on that. We have some quite cool enamel pins, one of Ruby, letting her, I'd say, rage flag fly, and it's the big, giant 2-inch pin, which is pretty awesome.
And the first Kickstarter had a Peter pin,
which is still going to be available.
Yeah, so you can start collecting them.
One thing we're doing a bunch of signings around LA, and if you're around LA all through October, I think we have 4 of them. We did these mini ash can previews of the inks only of Chapter 2, which we're going to be giving out only in person.
Yeah.
So if you find us on socials and you end up being there and you buy anything or you support the campaign, you get one of those free ash cans. We're only giving that away in digital version in one of the tiers. So that's going to be very exclusive.
But the physical, they're limited. We only printed a certain amount. And that's something we like to do with our first campaign. Also, we did limited edition of things. We also have to add, like in the first campaign, we did some trading cards, and we have a new one that's really nice with some spot gloss on it. It's like a higher level trading card.
And you're going to, a few small spots, you'll be able to be drawn in to 1 or 2 of the panels, which we did, which was very successful last time. Somebody bought some real estate in Winding Springs. They bought an acting studio that we placed inside the town.
They basically put their business. So, you could put your business inside the inside the book.
Yeah.
No, we were actually pleased with how that turned out. And then this time around, there's 2 roles in a full page scenes where we're actually going to offer someone to become one of these characters,
like be featured with
2 guest stars
with some lines.
Opportunities where you can actually have a scene with Peter and I think it's a scene with Peter and a scene with Ruby
to be drawn in. So those are some fun. There's a very
a one of a kind item that hopefully it comes out. So we're in the process of working with a stop motion animation studio to create a one-of-a-kind hand of Shockheaded Peter.
Peter's hand.
So it's going to be full on. He's going to have his little tattoo, his black nails, and it's going to be a fully really cool mock-up. This studio,
this
really
artist
great.
Is making for us.
We're going to be having that with us in person as we go around, and we will probably offer that one-of-a-kind thing in one of the tiers.
Oh, that's really cool. You mentioned getting drawn to the book, and I know people love those tiers and different campaigns. Anywhere people can get like tortured or killed by Peter?
No, we
did last time.
Tier,
we offered custom punishments. So like you would get a custom printout and a digital file.
It wasn't drawn in the book, but they would get their own art piece by our artists. But so
I think because we're very much protective of the characters in the story, and unless it like fits perfectly, it would just seem gratuitous if we just threw it in there.
Right.
So we want to make sure it fits. So like putting you in as 1 or 2 of these characters, it still works for the story. It doesn't take away.
If it was one of the punish, like it'd be like an ongoing role that kind of, it's a little more in depth.
Maybe for part 3 next time around, we'll think ahead and be like, okay, maybe, this one punishment we can actually, because the people who get punished, it's a big, it's a big thing.
It's a whole arc.
So they have to be a bigger character.
Okay. So you don't just see one happen and then move on with the story.
Not in part two.
There was one in part one, but
You didn't see it happen.
you
only
didn't
saw
see
the
it.
after.
Yeah, you only saw. So that was the only one. But after that, yeah, there's none
Yeah.
in part two. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a popular one. The punishments. But again, that didn't end up in the book. It was like
Yeah, and some of the other punishments that happen, you'll start to see victims. They kind of happen in like Chekhov style off stage. You know, you just see them afterward.
It just always makes me laugh that, especially with like zombie comics, people will buy up the yeah, I want my head exploded by the main character.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, man, that's cool. You're
Yeah.
helping out
Yeah.
indie creators, but
Yeah.
I have some
Yeah.
questions.
yeah, exactly.
I know.
That's so
Where's this
funny.
coming from?
That's so funny.
That's really cool. And when you said you went back and you kind of revamped it, volume one, I'm guessing you kept all the dimensions the same, so it's going to
Yeah.
look the
Mhm.
same when we get that slipcase online.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Even if you have the original printing, it's
Mhm.
still gonna it'll
The
still be
same.
able to fit in. It just we did a new cover. We're kind of streamlining the covers now, so the new revised one and part two covers you'll see kind of have a similar theme. And again, we'll go for part three. The variant covers will be different. Like we have
But the same dimensions, just
same dimensions.
different
Yeah.
cover. Yeah.
Like the one variant cover that we're offering, and we didn't answer this earlier when you asked us. It's by this other artist, Santiago Espina, Argentinian artist, and he did one of our variants. We did a metal foil
Yeah.
version,
Like
of
a goth.
of a goth shockheaded Peter.
Yeah.
Very like adult, very dark, and which is awesome. Which was the other route we could have gone. But he did a version of Ruby, which is just so glorious and enchanting, and we
Yeah.
couldn't not put it, you know.
So yeah, that's gonna be our variant for book two.
And that'll be a matte cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because I see the sketch variant for number 2. Is Giuseppe doing a cover for issue 2 or volume 2
Yes.
as well?
He's doing the standard one. We were waiting to reveal that until we launch.
Yeah, that will be revealed on
Yeah.
on the 8th.
He does a front and back
Yeah.
cover,
Okay.
just like part one. It's a
Mhm.
similar concept.
And then something I'm always interested in, because I think for the longest time people didn't pay attention to this, and it might be, especially for something perfect bound that's going to go on a bookshelf, the most important part of the book aesthetically. Obviously, the book itself is the most important part. How much time, effort, and thought went into the spine?
Mhm.
It's it's a part one is it's a thin book, so there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I design as much as I can on top of what Joe has done.
Yeah, he
So-
does all the graphic design for all our marketing and all the
I'll say finding the right font and the right font that we can use as well, unless we have Joe do it by hand, which he has done in some cases. But font search is like a lot of time because it's got to be the right vibe. It's got to give the right, a little bit of horror, a little bit of fantasy. Does it all mesh with our logo design, which we had designed, but definitely has a very 1930s metropolis type feel to it. So I would say for the spine, it's mostly like the font is a big thing. Other than that, we want to keep it. I think the strength is in simplicity.
Mhm.
Just the number and the little band and the color.
Yeah, and make sure it's adorable. You know, we are, even before this, we are avid book lovers, so we
Yeah.
really care for our books, but we also are interested that it's made the
mean,
quality is good, so
and
and
one-
that it'll last.
And at one point, I had this idea, and it's still not far off from it, but like, because we could still do it technically. The idea was to have, since we're having 3 books, and on the spine you have, number 1, Shockheaded Peter, our names, and the idea was to do for number 1, Shockheaded Peter, where the title is. Number 2 is coming, and number 3 for you. I still don't know if that'll work. We'll see, but that was a thought. Otherwise, it'll just be Shockheaded Peter, Shockheaded Peter, Shockheaded Peter.
Yeah.
No, and I think even with your simplistic spine that I'm seeing here on the preview page, it still is just like, I feel like people as a whole have just put more effort into that. And I always was saying early on when I would get these Kickstarter books, and it was just like, it would just say Shockheaded Peter and like the most bland font on a white or black background. And you're like, all right, well, this is going to look terrible on my bookshelf, but it was a cool book, but
Well,
but
Yeah.
you even having like just the creators, your names on it and your artist name on it and the numbers, I think is still a huge step forward just for the industry as a whole and the indie comics, because now people are actually thinking about it, that this is something that's going to sit for years and hopefully decades and hopefully longer on a shelf for people to read and pick up. And if it goes into a bookstore or something, when I go to a Barnes and Noble around here, the graphic novels, all the books, the spine is what you see. That's what's supposed to suck me in. So
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I think we love going to bookstores,
Mhm.
and I just love looking through the aisles, and I'm also a collector too, so that's in my mind too. When I see things, you think like, oh, this is cool. What draws you to pick up a
Mhm.
book? And so that's always in your mind. You do what you can to a degree,
Yeah. But the
but
visual, attractiveness of something, like, yeah, we love going to bookstores, and that's the thing. Like, how many of those might be amazing stories, and maybe like the spine didn't
Yeah.
just catch your
Attract-
eye,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
and it's left on the shelf. So yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely is something that goes into the
Yeah.
thought process, mainly with the whole idea that this is a continuing graphic novel. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of of three, and if we continue on, but now like the full arc of this part is these three.
And Ethan, as the graphic designer, if you get that volume 2 back, and I want to know, because as a consumer, I'll let you know how I feel about this. You get volume 2 back and you put 1 and 2 next to each other, and that 2 is just a hair off. Are you pulling
It's
hair
going to drive
out?
me insane. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It'll drive me insane.
Yeah.
I will even, it might even be like, okay, well, this is going to be a phone call.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but like also we've come to realize through all like lately in the productions process of things, and this can be a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
There's so much error,
Yeah.
so much stuff going on, and you're like, is this just people just letting AI run rampant? Is nobody checking this stuff?
Oh, and one thing is, we do not use any AI,
None.
like nothing. But we're both very meticulous. We both have very meticulous eyes. Yeah, it's like, it's another thing that what you're talking
Yeah.
about is like, we pay attention to detail, the minutia of it.
Even right now, you saying that is going to probably haunt me in my dreams. So now I'm gonna be like, I gotta remember what Chris
I
said.
remember years ago, before any of us were talking AI, before we, this was a whole conversation, Image Comics was the worst. The Image Comics logo would be off, and it would sit on my bookshelf and be like, why is that off a quarter of an inch? Like, why?
Right.
And it's back to normal. It's like, oh, it drove me insane every time. To the point where I would sometimes buy reprints just because they fixed that one thing.
Oh man, maybe they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
That's
Probably.
their thing. Yeah, like, oh, this is good. Yeah, we're gonna get so much more money out of this.
I had that feeling when DC for the longest time had printer issues, where they would send something out and the print, there would be like a page missing or something, and it was happening so often. I was like, this is a collector's thing.
Yeah,
They want you to buy too.
Yeah.
Somebody in there just pulling pages out as on the,
oh, I forgot the page. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Let's go back to
exactly.
print.
Yeah. There's a whole drawer somewhere of those torn out pages.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anything else you want to say about the book before we kind of wrap things up?
Just our artist, he's
Joe.
amazing. He, does the inks, pencils, he colors it, and he also does the lettering. So, people can really enjoy his beautiful art, the beautiful work.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he might. I don't know if this drives him crazy or not, but he never says, and he's just like, okay. Anytime we say anything we want him to do, like, Ruby's got to be so much more excited here. Or no, Ruby's got this feeling, and we dial in this really ridiculously pinpointed description of a feeling, and he's like, okay. And I don't know, like, me as an editor, if a director said something kind of crazy weird to me, I'd be like, "What the heck are you talking about?" He just takes it in stride, and
Yeah.
whatever he does, he gets it, and we're like, "Oh, that's awesome." Okay,
Yeah. It's
to
become
his
like,
credit.
yeah, like just because obviously this is the second book, and just like working together, it's now been I guess 4
3 going
years.
on 4 years.
Yeah, 3 going on 4 years. We did have a break in between, just like other work things. We got busy, but as Ethan said, like we're gonna jump into
He,
book 3 right
yeah,
after, and it's really a joy to work with him. He's
he
awesome.
brings our writing to life, just as it should be. So
Yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned the lettering because it was in the back of my head, and of course I do this off cuff, so things get lost in my clouded brain. But the lettering, some of the sound effects he does, it has like a Fiona Staples-esque quality to it, where you can
oh
tell
wow,
that he drew it onto the page, and it's not
he does.
just
Yeah,
something
hmm
superimposed afterwards. And
no,
I
yeah,
love that. I think it's really great.
yeah. He hand does
yeah.
all of the sound effects. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, the book looks really cool. I hope everybody checks it out as you're all listening to this, because I know you're listening to it the day I release it. Uh, Shockheaded Peter Volume 2 has just launched on Kickstarter, so you can get all those cool early bird specials and hopefully check out everything else they have to offer. As we're leaving, I mean, do you do social media? Do you want people to follow you on there? Where can I send people
Yeah.
outside of the Kickstarter?
Sure. So I'm the easiest ones to find me are on Instagram or on X, and my handle on both are at Jess underscore Silvetti. So it's just the way you spell my name, however you see it here, JESS underscore Silvetti.
And I'm on most of them. I think I use Instagram a lot. I'm just EBK from LA on anything.
So everybody make sure you check out the show notes down below for the links to volume 2 of Shockhead Peter, to the Shockhead Peter website, and I'll have some of those social media links down below as well, so you can go follow these two amazing people. Ethan, Jessica, thank you so much for stopping by and talking about the book, and just best of luck
Thank
with the
you.
campaign.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. We
This was
appreciate
awesome.
it. Yeah, thanks.